What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and a lot of people have been asking me for a Quinton Simon update. But unfortunately, I can't give you updates when there are none. I know there's still some people talking about the case, and most people are just still hurtling accusations at the babysitter and all types of stuff, but there hasn't been really any official information coming out. But I do have a couple of updates, but I'm going to tell you all right now, this isn't information that you're going to want to hear. But I realize that's part of my job, going over information that is hard to talk about, hard to hear, and I can assure you that your day was probably going better before you heard what you're about to hear right now. But from what I've been told, Quinton still hasn't had a proper burial. In fact, Quinton's remains are still with the FBI, and they're continuing to do testing in a crime lab on his remains, or what was found of his remains. I didn't want to come out and say this during my coverage of the Quinton Simon case. Sometimes when you just talk about the reality of these cases, it could seem insensitive. You know what I mean? But if you're too sensitive to hear about true crime cases, then you shouldn't watch this type of content. But there's so much information within these type of cases that we talk about that is really sensitive information. And when you go over that information and you relay that information to other people, sometimes it can make them feel as if you're being insensitive. I'm not trying to be insensitive here, but the reality is, like I tried to explain to you all throughout my coverage of the case, that they were never looking for a fully intact toddler's body when they were out there in the landfills. They were looking for remains, pieces of Quinton. I don't know any other better way to explain it. It makes me feel weird even saying it. I do not like giving you all this news, but this is the reality. They weren't out there looking for Quinton as you may have seen him in his pictures. They're out there looking for remains, DNA samples that may be amongst other garbage, bones, what have you. So what they recovered of Quinton was never an intact Quinton. They found pieces. And those pieces are still with the FBI, and they're still doing tests as we speak. Just as recently as yesterday, the FBI spokesperson said that they're still doing testing in a crime lab on Quinton's remains. I'm guessing that they're trying to figure out what happened to Quinton, because we still don't know what happened to Quinton. We know where Quinton was disposed of. We believe we know who did whatever happened to Quinton, Leilani. But we don't know the cause of death. And I believe that's what they're trying to figure out through these tests. Now, like I said, it hurts me to my heart to know that in many ways, Quinton still hasn't been put to rest. But that's the reality. Now, another situation that I would like to talk to you all about is the fact that we all know, or at least I reported to you all, probably about a month ago at this point, that Leilani Simon was supposed to be in court on January 11th. I was really looking forward to that court date because I really want to know what's going to come of this case. But that court date has been canceled, and now the case has been moved. The status hearing has been moved to February 13th. Also, the discovery disclosure in Leilani Simon's case has been sealed. This has been sealed because there's information in there about stuff that happened to Quinton and his siblings, and because they are underage and they are just children, they are making sure to seal these documents so the information doesn't necessarily reach it to the public. I'm sure whatever information that was in there would get your blood boiling. We know about a lot of the details about what may have happened to those kids under Leilani's care and under Billy Joe's care. So I'm not surprised that they sealed this. In fact, I was always expecting this to happen. I did not expect for them to change Leilani's court date. I'm not sure why that happened. And I didn't think that FBI were still in the process of running tests on Quinton's remains. That came as a shock to me. You know, I felt like that portion of the investigation was probably over, but it's not. And that leads me to believe that there's still some missing clues here. There's still some unanswered questions, not just for us, but for law enforcement as well. Of course, the general public, us, we have tons of questions that aren't answered yet and may never get answered. But knowing that they're still doing these tests and Quinton's remains at the time of this recording are still sitting in a crime lab, that lets you know that investigators, the FBI, they don't have all the answers to these questions either. And I'm hoping that they get down to the bottom of it, because it doesn't look like Leilani's going to ever say anything. So fingers crossed that they're able to find something in these tests, and fingers crossed that they could finally put Quinton to rest. Because there's something about thinking about Quinton's remains being in that crime lab still. It doesn't sit right with me, especially knowing that his remains sat out there in a trash dump for weeks on end. We got tropical storms came into that area and everything. It's an ugly situation that you don't really like to dwell on too much. But I would be really happy if they find some answers and Quinton can be properly put to rest. That would make me feel so relieved. And I'm sure you all feel the same. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I will talk to you all in the next video.